what I'll do is I'll put it.
There we go. So that's it. We're live. Hello, everyone. Is the audio all right? Everyone who's listening, all the many. I don't know how many people are on stream right now. Can you hear? It's sunny. It feels like the first time I've been on a stream in the evening when it's sunny weather. It's nice. Everyone, we have a special guest this evening. The disembodied voice of a certain Dr. David Turner. David, hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thank you. I don't know why I said welcome to the show.
That's quite nice. I like it. You almost assumed like the smooth radio voice from Parks and Rec, and that was smooth jazz. Man. Yeah, it's quite good. I like it.
He's some sort of jazz.
Yeah, some sort of very niche jazz compilation.
Jazz compendium played entirely with spoons.
Yeah. And that was a jazz compendium played on the exhaust pipes of 25 Ford Octagons. Something like that, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, let's make a thing happen. Right, okay, so the game is currently loading.
Gareth,
go on.
Oh, you do your thing. I've got a question.
No, go. Send them over. I'm just rotating this to see if it's crashing again. Oh, it's exactly as crashy as it was last time. I think it's just doing. Oh no, it's not so bad. It's not as bad. Okay, sorry everyone. I'm currently just testing this while there's nothing on screen for everyone because it was looking very unstable. But it's fine. It's all moving. So what I'm going to do is go back to our mapping. So right, this map is so out of date now. You can see maps changing now. I think, Dr. DT, you should be able to.
Yeah.
So we're going to ignore that because this is the big kind of names map to give an idea of geography. But actually, we're beyond that now. We've got, and in fact, there is. I need to set a proper link to it. There is now. Oh, in fact, I can drag it over. There is now a proper like Google Maps map that someone has made. In fact, it's here. I just put it on screen.
That's nice.
And what's quite nice is you can select. You can put the lines off. You can put the satellite view off. It's quite clever. Look at this. This is just from the PDF map that I've created. And yeah, you can zoom in.
Which Kingston is that?
This is all entirely contrived. This is our Kingston on this island. This island is a totally contrived place.
No, I know.
The names, actually, to be fair, some of the names I've changed. So this one I called Kingston. I think I changed that to be called Kingston. It used to be called Burgess Hill, which didn't make any sense as a large place name. And then this was originally called Morton Hampstead, and I changed it to be called Bradshaw because reasons. But anyway, yeah, you've got all the mapping here showing what's already quite a complicated place. So these are all the stations you can see, and yeah. So whoever made this map, it's great.
You got some good network route development there.
Well, this is it, yeah. And the different companies. So the thing we've done in this game, which is entirely not in the game itself, this is just me making stuff up because it makes the game develop a bit more interestingly, is having different railway companies competing. So different bits of railway are built by different companies, and there've been some acquisitions and some mergers over time. I mean, in the early years of the railway, there were lots and lots and lots and lots of railway companies, and they fairly quickly merged into like, I don't know what, like 20 or 30 larger groups, and then they continue to consolidate, right?
Are we talking in the real world or here?
Oh, well, both actually, because this is sort of an so here, yes, but it was less in this. But in Britain, so
yeah,
there were lots and lots of individual companies to start with.
You do have 120 companies on the books,
Crikey.
1923, but I mean, most of those are leased or worked,
okay,
or by other companies. There are, depending on how you categorize them, 12, 15 majors. But like the 15 or 16 goes up to like the Taff Vale, which is a South Wales mining line. It had passengers, but it served to, one of the largest companies, by capital value in the world, which is the London North Western Railway. So, yeah.
Lots. So essentially, what we've been doing in this map is sort of very broad brush, kind of analogizing what was happening in Britain, but obviously within the confines of like a map that I think is possibly like 30 by 30 kilometers. So it's not exactly a large space. Although you'd be amazed how much railway you can fit into that sort of space. But we've had, we had an original railway. Weirdly, the original railway that was built was this little one that curves around the coast here. That was an industrial line, and then we had our first sort of passenger line was built up here as well, and then they kind of expanded. We had the Great Central was like the first intercity line. So we've slightly humorously stolen names that don't apply. But that's kind of playing with a bit of history here to make it obvious that it's not real history. It's made up history, but theoretically analogizing some of the things that were actually happening in the real world as well.
Yeah.
So we've got
damn fun there.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of here. There isn't much railway here. So what I thought we'd do is have a little whiz around on the island and sort of show you some of the things that have been happening because we are in right. So I'm gonna press that button right now. Hello to everyone in the stream. What's the name of the island? It doesn't have a name really. It's just called the Archipelago because I never really got to calling it a name. Michael C is asking if we're going to upgrade the Southern's corridor into Bradshaw Great Northern. That is one of the things on the list of potential upgrades. I'll explain where on earth that is shortly, David. First thing I need to do is put up my list of... I've got a big PDF with all my scribbles in it that reminds me of things that I need to do. Right, good. So that's there. The game is here. You can all see the game now. Hooray! So this is the top of a brand new railway line that's just been built to very high standards. It is the Southwestern Joint Railway, actually. So it connects into a bit of railway up here that's existed for a long time. It was built by the... Also, the names get confusing here because these are names. The game's auto creates names from basically. It must have a list of UK railway stations. So it takes those names and puts them on things. So this is Chesterfield, which obviously should not be confused with real Chesterfield. And there's a railway that was called the Raleigh and Lowestoft Railway that ran through Chesterfield. They built that originally. Raleigh and Lowestoft are not places that you would connect by rail. Indeed, there are quite a few strange connections of places. Anyway,
no, when I used to play this game, I was always very surprised by some of the names they put on.
yeah.
So it was just, why is Doncaster there? Well,
yeah. Why is Doncaster now a seaside coastal village? What's going on? Anyway, so there's this huge... Actually,
I've been to Doncaster. There's no beaches.
Yeah. I mean, the only beaches there are next to the industrial waste pools in the south of the city. Anyway, no, everyone loves Doncaster. It's fine. So this is this massive new bit of railway that's been built. And actually, the earthworks were looking a bit weird, but they seem to have fixed themselves. There was a bug that we spotted when we were having a cab ride earlier, but it seems to have fixed itself. Anyway, what's also quite funny and quite common, you see this sort of thing all the time on railways in Britain, is an obvious route that cannot, there's a geographical narrowing for whatever reason, whether it's a valley or a spittle of land or whatever, that has multiple railway companies basically running next to each other in a way that's totally unstrategic, but because they're serving different interests, different companies' interests, vanity resulting in one line doing something very different to the other. They've got this older line here, the single track one.
You've got.
Yeah,
well, I mean, this is a lot of.
Oh, can you hear me, David? Are you breaking up, or is the game doing things and it's resulting in Skype breaking up? Are you there? Oh, just a sec. We might have lost Dr. DT. In fact, I can go and find David actually without any problem. He's here. You're moving. I can see you moving, David. So, is your audio there?
I can hear. Can you?
Oh
hear
yeah,
me
that's
now?
perfect. You're back. Yeah, I can hear you. You're fine. I think my GPU has stole a load of resources off Skype. Sorry. Yeah, you were talking about rival companies next to each other.
I'll turn my video off. Maybe that will help.
Oh yeah, go for it. Perfect.
So a lot of early railways were built by local interest. And this didn't it aligned to their local interest. And yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, you get these small companies emerging and they usually get taken over or built, or in a lot of cases, that's why you get 120 companies.
Yeah.
There's a vast amount of, shall we say, cut-offs, attempts to, so a great one is the new Guildford line.
Oh yeah.
It runs down from London, from Guildford down to the south coast. It runs down off Surbiton down towards Guildford. There was already a line to Guildford, and I love the story that the reason that it had so little traffic on it that the station masters and the passengers allegedly, and I'll say this allegedly, played cricket in between trains. However, it started off because the people of the region nearby wanted a railway and they didn't have one. So they got into cahoots with I think it was the district, Metropolitan District. And suddenly the London South Western goes, hang on, we'll give you a railway. They've been trying to get a railway for decades. So you get this sort of attempt that the South Western takes over this railway, or takes on the project, sorry. It takes on the project basically to stymie competition. It was going after territorial control.
And it's certainly in Britain there was no strategic oversight. It was capital competing for capital, and as a result you had a really messy. You had a railway network that was disjointed and messy, and you had some. You had different companies running on different railways, but by and large, it wasn't a hugely. It was successful because it was extensive, but it wasn't because it was. It wasn't the most resource sensible use of land or space.
So there's a moment in the 1840s where there's a department set up. So Gladstone, William Ewart Gladstone, the future Prime Minister, President of the Board of Trade, wanted to divest himself of responsibility for planning or being involved in the development of the railway network. Planning is a very strong word. So he divulges this authority to the railway board. And just to add, and here's an interesting side, he did that also to avoid conflicts of interest, because his family were very deeply involved in the railways through John Moss. Gladstones, of course, were slave plantation owners.
Yeah.
So we see a link there between the money that came from slavery, or one of the Gladstones' interests, invested in the railways, and then leads to an event later on. But anyway, Gladstone sort of divests to the five kings, Lord Dalhousie's committee, and they start writing these reports about the schemes that come forward in mid 1840s. It's shut down after 9 months. It's shut down after 9 months because its vested interests wanted it to shut down.
Yeah. It was looking like it was going to nick too much power and sort of or reallocate it in a way that wasn't helpful to the capital interests. It's a
particular scheme that it didn't like getting in the way, but the reports it wrote were broadly accepted. So there was a moment there where, if this committee I don't think it had the political context to perhaps, it would have. I reckon it possibly would have foundered anyway. If it hadn't been for this one, it would have been another one.
Yeah,
but there is a moment where you do get some sense of, strategy is worthwhile. But Mark Casson, who's an academic at Reading, he worked out that if the network had been planned from that point, how much capital would have been saved and how much shorter the network would have been in 1914, presuming that every point is still connected.
Yeah.
He reckoned that the amount of capital spent would be 1/4 less, and the amount of mileage would be the network is about 22,000 miles in 1914, 22,000. He knocked off 8,000 miles off that.
Crikey.
I always get my students to debate this because it's counterfactual.
Yeah.
And counterfactuals are inherently something historians go and ah about, because
there's so many variables at play, and
because if he's talking about 1914, but if you change the decision at an earlier point, you're going to change the outcomes in 1914.
Yeah.
You get all these developments. The network is driven by private interests. It does give Britain a very comprehensive railway network. But it doesn't. It means that a lot of the lines, especially in the later 19th century, that are built are making marginal profit.
Yeah. There's a Matt Reed's asking about narrow gauge railways. Matt, the first narrow gauge railways in Britain were depends on your definition of narrow gauge, but to be honest, the 1500s and the 1600s you'll have seen narrow gauge railways, because the first kind of early railways were appearing, certainly railways that we'd recognise, were through the 1600s, and they had all sorts of gauges. So the idea of narrow gauge is a bit of a strange one, really, in the wider context of railways, because if you mean less than standard gauge, then lots and lots and lots, huge numbers.
Well, I mean, the Surrey Iron Railway was 4 foot 2 inches wide, I think.
Yeah. I suppose it depends. If you mean like a railway defined by an act of parliament rather than built as an industrial part of industry.
Well, I was trying to think what that guy who wrote who the first railway, like 1603 or something.
Yeah.
He's got a fantastic name.
Oh well, if anyone's interested in early railways, I can strongly recommend. Where is it? It's here. I can strongly recommend this book by Andy Guy and Jim Rees. This one here. Wait a minute, let me go big face momentarily. I'm going to go big face. Where are we? Go to OBS and go gigantic face. This book, Early Railways by Andy Guy and Jim Rees. Absolutely fantastic. Really interesting. Apart from the fact that these books are made in an interesting budget, and so the last paragraph of the book, or possibly even the last page of the book, is missing, which is slightly frustrating because it means you don't get a conclusion. But it's still a really informative book. I'd strongly recommend it. And then the bibliography in the back is good for more immersive text, shall we say. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Oh, I need to get that sorted. That's awesome.
Any book. I seem to have a bit of a sort of, what's the word? I'm worried about. I've got ideas for books.
The challenge with lots of ideas, and it certainly works in my case, is that they all fight each other, and I end up doing nothing, which is that's a real challenge. So I've been trying to I have so many Well, I'm writing the P-Way book, which has stumbled because of COVID and my inability to, that took up a lot of brain bandwidth. Anyway, right, I need to say a thing, which is what I'm showing on screen. This is Bradshaw Great Northern, right? So this is Bradshaw. This is the main city on our island, right? And you can see it's got a ship canal here that came in. It actually blitzed through an old railway. There's an old railway alignment that used to... There it is. You can see it's sort of just a pointless spur now. But this is a ship canal, so it's into the harbour. You've got this sort of wide avenues and, this few suburban stations. Sort of there's South Road Metropolitan, which is just it used to be kind of out on its own, but there is a lot of industry building up around it. You've got industry coming in, so you've got kind of urban sort of station with lots of stuff coming in and out of there, which is... You don't see much of that anymore. What sort of goods are you looking at here? Say again?
What sort of goods?
Oh, this game is very, very basic when it comes to goods. So the only things that you see moving around, this is bringing in tools. Generically, tools. But also cogs. And, it's not hugely sophisticated. So there's different cities have different needs. So this Bradshaw needs building materials and tools. So actually, construction materials are shipped down from two places, mostly. They're mostly coming either from Richmond here, which does you can see there's a lot of industry on this side. So there's the Midland Brickmakers Limited. They come down and ship stuff down into Bradshaw. And also the Great Northern Railway, which was built, it mostly carries passengers, but one of the things the Great Northern does was to allow, there was a business magnate who essentially wanted to put the town that he grew up, or rather the major city next to the town he grew up. It's the Great Northern here. You can see this big, well-built thing weaving through. This actually carries bricks at a pretty decent lick and a quite a high rate down from where are we? It's quite a long way up the map. Anyway, yeah, you can see the scale of our map. The music's quite epic in my ears as well. Everyone's getting to...
I don't get the music, but...
Oh yeah, you can't get any of the sound, unfortunately, because Skype doesn't take audio from OBS, so the people on the feed can get it, but you're missing all the lovely music, which is a shame.
Nah.
I know, right?
Apparently I cut out again.
Oh, really? Oh.
Never mind.
Oh. Well, you're nice and clear now anyway. So we're up here.
Well, we're up... Know. So they were... Oh, really? I wrote a book called Victorian and Edwardian Railway Travel. One of the Shire series. So that's what I... Yeah.
Which I need to now go in order. Anyway, yeah, so bricks... brick manufacturing happens here, and they ship all that long railway that we just went along was built to basically take. So it's a bit like lots of railways, built taking materials down into London, which was this huge growing thing, was quite common. So again, I was sort of trying to analogize that really, a big main line that okay, it's probably going to end up carrying more passengers in the future, but at the moment it still carries a large volume of freight down into our big capital down here.
Interesting point. Brick creation got a massive stimulus when the railways come along because you need a lot of bricks.
Yeah. Lots of different famous bricks and just a huge amount of construction required. So yeah, you can see the different railway companies. So perhaps slightly anachronistically, one of the early railways in Bradshaw was called the Metropolitan Railway, but it was really just a railway that built this fine viaduct coming through here. So it's a bit.
That's beautiful. You can do with some microbreweries under that.
This is it. We need an Amspach and Hob day under here. There we are, coming through there. I don't know what on earth that arch is doing. Best not to worry about it. Maybe there's a road there once or something. Anyway, yeah, and then it comes down. I love that. I think it looks great. I love this suburban kind of arch thing. It just looks awesome. It's been there for ages, and it gets quite busy with trains whizzing back and forth. Anyway, so one of the things we need to do. Sorry, go on.
Arches always, they tend to, the problem is as traffic grows, arches are harder to, expand. The biggest element of capital expenditure, and people forget about this. Everybody thinks about the big things. But actually, the biggest piece of capital expenditure for the London South Western Railway between 1870 and 1914 is expanding its arches outside of Waterloo. It's not rebuilding Waterloo. It's not buying Southampton docks. It's knocking down loads of houses and putting up wider arches.
Really? Crikey. Yeah. So, but the thing is, by that point, the land value, presumably around Waterloo, had increased quite a lot. So they've almost created themselves a rod for their own back. In order to succeed and meet that demand, they needed to start demolishing.
Well, in part, a lot of railway arches tended to attract, that's a poor way to put it, but they people were generally poorer around them, and because in the Victorian imagination the railway arch was a dark and it was a dark and grimy place. But I think it's the sheer amount you have to do, it's the sheer volume of land purchases, it's the sheer volume of knocking down not just houses but industrial sites. It's obviously going to be more expensive to knock down some half a factory in compared to some low grade housing,
some slum development, or particularly south of the river in London. Yeah. So actually we've got so the other station is this one here, which was the first intercity station that was built in Bradshaw, the first regional station, which was built by the Kingston and Bradshaw Railway and then subsumed and acquired by the Great Central Railway. But it's there.
I'm loving that colour, Gareth. It's
the blue.
It's stunning.
I know, right? There's not much colour choice in this. I'm playing this vanilla, and one feature of the vanilla game is that they give you 16 colour options, and all of them are hideous. like. We couldn't make paint that color in 1908, everyone. Or if we could, it was inside Regency era palaces, and that was about it. That's a bonkers color.
What gets me about this game is I do sometimes wish they just had more skins for things, and they had more trains, and they
definitely. And the trouble is they rely on modding, but then that doesn't work if Lots of people. I just realised this. There might be people watching this who don't watch and have not watched all Rail Natters, so don't necessarily know who's joined us. This is my very, very dear and good friend, Dr. David Turner, who is a railway historian. Has appeared talking about railway history quite a few times on things, but not least on Rail Natter twice.
Oh yes,
the famous
three times.
Three times.
Was it Beeching, Quails, and?
Was it three times? No, I think you had me. Didn't you? Oh, no, wait.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't. In any case, you've been on talking about the famous beaching episode, and then the, strangely, perhaps, even more famous and now legendary and award-winning Quail Natter episode, which I'd strongly recommend everyone to go and watch.
Well,
Quail
I will
Natter.
say this. I was writing up. I was doing some writing today on the quails, and my colleague, and also fellow transport historian Thomas Fain, are producing a piece of work on it. So that will be academic publishing, obviously, but quails are getting off the ground.
Quails are on the move again. Crikey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, people are pointing out that I did Transport Tavern once.
Yes.
True.
Yes.
It's true. Right, I've done nothing so far because I enjoy talking to you, and your voice distracts me, and I just end up getting lost in your interesting words and stories.
Oh,
so
I did the beer episode, didn't I?
Beer, of course, beer. There was a third, of course there was. Good grief, there was, of course, because you were beer in like early episodes. Right, okay, I'm waffling on desperately, and I've paused because it's December the 5th, 1908, and what we're going to do is expand Bradshaw Great Northern. We need to deal with the fact that there is an increasing number of these Southern Railway services coming in, and we need to fit them in somewhere because the station's getting crowded. The station throat is getting horribly crowded. It's causing a lot of congestion. It doesn't look like it now, but that's because there's only so many services running along the Southern.
We're going to demolish people's houses.
So we're going to demolish some stuff down here. The trouble is, these are. If we go, I think we go to land value. You can see some of these are quite high value property. These are quite high value.
Your best bet is to do it on this side because there's more green on this, less green on this side.
Yes. Oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, well. The challenge, the challenge is
some industrial sewage and lower the land value.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. just tip a load of coal over the back into these gardens. So the challenge we have is that the Southern joins the line. It has to be on this side, this sort of southern side of the station, because the Southern Railway joins at this junction. And so if we're going to segregate their services from the Northern Railway, from the Great Northern Railway services which come across here, then we're going to need to run it along and then into its. So rather than it crossing over, we need to run it along and then into its own sort of platforms in here. The question is, how do we and can we do that? Let's go in here and have a look, because if I could just sneak in, I don't think it necessarily needs loads and loads of. Thanks, Matt. Cheers now. I don't think it needs loads of platforms. I think maybe just maybe even the two or four platforms. I think might be enough. The question is, how much can we? So I've started. It's happening right now.
Well, just demolish those people's houses, and then
and see where we're at. Yeah. So I mean, so tell us more broadly what was going on the railways in Britain, kind of in this Edwardian period, sort of the early basically before the First World War and after the turn of the century. What was going on?
Before I just had something to mention.
Go for it.
Figure. So there is a fantastic book by John Kellett. Who's a academic who wrote a book about railways in Victorian cities, and some of my students reading this. And demolishing houses was a big thing, and the railways went through low cost land in the early days. And the reason this is because they were not under any obligation to pay. There were no obligation to pay out the compensation. They might have paid some compensation to the people who owned the buildings, but the renters in this poverty-stricken, usually areas of poverty, got nothing. They just moved on. But the land consumption of the railways. So you're demolishing houses, and one of the impacts of this is there is this great feeling that when the railways come and demolish housing, it will improve these areas. It will raise the moral tone, etc., etc.
Yeah.
However, what you essentially get is the people needed to live close to work. People wouldn't use the railway, so they moved outwards. They moved to other places where they would have to, be in even more cramped conditions.
Oh, really? Oh, crikey! So it did not result in a general improvement for everyone by getting rid of bad housing and making people get better housing. It just resulted in more destitution for a lot of people.
But I mean, you've got things that comes later, like workmen's trains that are designed to provide low cost. So the first one, statutory. I mean, I think the Metropolitan has some, but the first statutorily imposed workmen's trains were when the Great Eastern wanted to expand to Liverpool Street, and they said that the government said, like, you can demolish these houses, but you need to put on cheap fares so that people could get into town. You're dispossessed, so you work. You will have to work. You might need to move out of town. So here are some cheap fares.
Yeah.
To allow you to do that. What's fascinating is the Great Eastern used this as a method of social engineering.
Okay.
So there's this report by Burr. My friend Simon Abathani has. I mean, there were people. H.J. Dias did some work on this in the 50s, and then Simon recently completed his PhD on this subject. And actually, if you want to watch a video, go onto the Institute of Historical Research's Transport Mobility History Seminar YouTube page. And his recent lecture that he gave to that seminar is on there. But one of the things he was saying is that the Great Eastern basically say, we will not put workmen's trains on lines in certain areas because that will despoil them for the better class and higher paying residents.
Oh, crikey.
So the Great Eastern Railway is therefore an agent of social, by the late, or using these fares as an agent of social change in the later 19th century. So there is that whole thing about, there's a lot of outcry on. It's a more complex story, of course, and but there's a whole story about what this social concern about the railways, and not just the railways, but other major infrastructure works like the embankment, demolishing old, poor housing inhabited by people on low incomes.
Yeah.
And I don't think this idea that so the railways by the end of the 19th century are they've got an awful lot of land in cities. So to give you a good example, Kellett suggested in the 1840s, railways covered about 5.5% of London's built-up area. So that includes marshalling yards, depots, etc. So you've got, they are huge land consumers. So,
yeah.
Sorry, that was a bit of a diversion from.
No, it's not. Well, I mean, you look at Bradshaw is just a tiny little speck really compared to a real city size, but you can kind of imagine how fairly quickly there's a lot of space being taken up to facilitate. Yeah. Our little Bradshaw is becoming very railway congested at this point.
But what's interesting, and what it probably doesn't replicate, if you go out to the arch, what are the land values next to the railway arches? Are they high?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I wonder because it deals with it, like the way the game it creates pollution, which in turn alters land values. So near stations, land values are higher, but near railways where there's just pollution and no benefit, it does sort of drop land values, which is not necessarily that distant from. Okay, the mechanism is different, but it's not necessarily that different from the
It's a modern conception of the past, because round stations. I mean, you talk to anybody about major terminus stations in the night.
I mean, not that recent, not even that long ago. You take King's Cross. King's Cross was not the glorious place that we now think of it as being.
No, you'd get away from them if the wealthy wanted to get away from them quickly, because they were not places of wealth, and they were places of quite severe poverty. Now, one of the things that is also interesting is that you get these sort of triangles. There's a lot of them in South London, of course, triangles of railway arches, and in those sort of areas you get sort of feelings that these are areas of factory, of vice, of, in the Victorian imagination, poverty. Yes, they are. So I think there's, round railway arches, it's you get these sort of sectioned off. The railway arch has huge sort of, in the imagination, it has huge sort of value of sort of cutting these areas off from the rest of the city. value being the wrong word, of course, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so. I mean, yeah, we've just bulldozed quite a lot of a fairly well, because it's
certainly little two houses that still sort of
they've held on.
It won't take us.
I know. yeah, get off us. We won't move. Damn it! And they've managed to survive somehow. I don't know how they managed that at all. We've really squeezed. I think we've squeezed in as many platforms as we possibly could there. I don't think we could have done a single extra thing. And we've now made this station throat more complicated as well. So I need to start working out how I'm going to.
Just because I've got it up here.
Oh yeah, go for it.
There are a couple of estimates about how many people were displaced. Of course, we don't know, but in London, which H.J. Dyer's focused on, H.J. Dyer is one of sort of the legends of urban history. Dyer's recommended that suggested of 51 railway schemes between 1853 and 1885 displaced about 56,000 people.
56,000, good grief.
Kellett put it between 1840 and 1910. He put it higher at 120,000 people. Although he did say he wouldn't be surprised. Now, so it's a huge amount. There are these things called demolition statements, and I can't remember, but I think railways had to produce statements to help alert the public to the difficulties that the things that the railways were imposing. In 1853, Lord Shaftesbury put these through the House of Lords.
Yeah.
They didn't. Nobody, really. It's that sort of idea that with regard to safety, that if you shame the railways into doing something, they will do something. If public shame is the railways feel shameful about hurting people, but you kind of, I think part of it is that doesn't really work. By the late 19th century, when you're talking about accidents, I think the railways are shamed into
making change happen.
Making change, but you're dealing with different. Your traveller who's going to be outraged in the press is more likely to be a middle class traveller. So there's a whole class dimension there going on, I suspect. So
all of that jumbles into the mix of the fact that the railways were smashing their way through. They were still, smashing their way through the urban environment in Britain. Really quite. I mean, to displace that many people, it's quite spectacular. Right, I've not looked at the chat for ages. Will the Southern insist on having their own ticket hall just to be annoying to passengers? Yeah, well, they've kind of built their own building. They've built their own building kind of beyond it here. I don't know whether they might actually build a little square here. Should we do that? Thing is, there's not that much. Maybe.
Although, just to note something about when these things changed, when the Waterloo Station Rebuilding Act was passed, the London South Western demolished a load of houses, but they had to replace a school, a library, and a fire station.
Oh, really?
I think that's the fire station that's next to the station now.
Yeah. It's still. I remember it vividly.
I think that's the one. Don't quote me on that. But...
Yeah, all right. That is interesting. So you see, the Southern have built themselves a nice little square there. So they're treating it almost like a separate terminus now. They've now got 5 terminating tracks of their own that they can use. So once I've plumbed these in, and then signalified it, the challenge I've got at the moment. I'll come back to the chat in a second. It doesn't need to be double slip. All maneuvers are still possible. Oh, thanks, Michael C. See, the chat are always on it. They always help me out. Yeah, that's true. You're right. Of course, that's a good point.
Do you have unlimited money, Gareth?
I do. Yeah, I do because it's closer to the reality of the situation. There were substantial capital funds available. And also, I wanted to have a busy railway map. If I'd played the game with not having unlimited funds available, then it's not unlimited funds. I just keep dumping extra capital in, but I don't have it on infinite money actually, because I do kind of want to see operational costs of different lines and bring those down. And I think those will come to bear on perhaps some of the decisions that will be made about railways in the middle of this century, for example, without wanting to spoil or anything. I need to now work out what to do to plumb these in, because this is currently a slow, two fasts, and a slow. And the southern splits onto these and then spits back off again. So I need to work out how to get these. So whether I do something like this. Let me think. Ooh. And then maybe something like this. Oh, too much curvature. Oof. How rude. Oh, what are you doing? There's some nice jazz in the background that you're missing. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. I mean...
that'll do me nicely. 30, 30. Oh, actually, I don't do that at all.
The reason I brought up the sort of unlimited capital is because, railway companies in this period don't have unlimited capital.
No,
in fact,
they don't.
They're struggling for capital. Share prices are nosediving. It's a really interesting thing that a lot of capital starts to flow out of Britain in the late 1890s into the Edwardian period, and this is for overseas ventures, railways, industry, and the railways who'd previously been actually quite, from the 1870s onwards, previously been able to generate a lot of capital. They've been able to raise capital because, in some sense, railways were a sure bet. A stable investment.
Yeah.
Good return on you. The other. They can build these lines that might not make money initially, but you can cross-subsidize them until they make money, and maybe buying them saves you having your profits extracted elsewhere.
Yeah.
But the Edwardian period comes along, and they struggle to generate capital. I think that there's a problem there, that the railways the model for the railways is to make profit and to distribute all of their profits immediately as dividends. So they're not people who are keeping money back. Or keeping much money back to generate funds to build stuff. It's from revenue accounts.
I see. So they're not. They don't have nice big bank accounts where they're saving all this cash with the intention of knowing that they need to do expansion. Yeah. They're pretty reactive when it comes to capital expenditure. Interesting.
Most of their capital. I mean, I think they're putting some in depreciation funds, but they are not building up sort of funds that they can because it's just the practice of the industry. So you've got the other issue, of course, is in the late 19th century you get limited liability develops more fervently. So a lot of companies before then have partnerships. So there's 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, actually, some partnerships, can have more people, but partnerships. So the liability of me, if Gareth, let's say you and I are we own a brewery.
It could happen.
It could happen. The Dennis and Turner Brewery. And the Dennis and Turner Brewery is you and me, but we want to raise some capital. So we're a partnership. If I lose money, you're liable, and you lose money, I'm liable. But if we convert to limited liability status, our liability is we lose the money we invest. So a lot of companies in the late 19th century, including breweries is a massive, they incorporate as limited liability companies. There's a great number of companies come to the fore, and that people can now invest in, because previously they were limited. You become a partner or not. So there's a great development. So there's more opportunities. I mean, this is the late 19th century is when you get the rise of the institutional investor, like pension funds. It's sort of very modern looking sort of thing. Of course, it's quite different in a lot of ways, but but you get more opportunity to invest. You get more overseas ventures, and this sucks money away from the railways, the established domestic railways. Which means that they struggle to raise capital. Now, that translates in some sense to oh, well, we can't invest in things like electrification. We can't invest in things like new technology to improve our efficiency, because the other factor here is that in the late 1890s, there's a massive hike in the price of coal, and the price of coal rises and profitability in industry falls dramatically from about, I might get this wrong, from about 57%. So costs as a proportion of revenue goes from mid-50s to about 62.
All right, so things are just getting more and more relatively speaking, more and more expensive.
Materials, costs, wages.
I was going to say labour has to be a big part of that. People are getting, labour is, you have to pay people more money, pay them better, Yeah.
I think labour is an interesting one, because it's the unions are definitely on the rise. I mean, their influence fluctuates over the sort of 1890. It's quite interesting that you get fluctuations in the size of membership depending on various factors. But railway companies' actual costs go up, which means not only are they they're not as good an investment opportunity, but the dividends they're paying out, their return to capital, the amount of revenue they get return to capital falls. So you get all these shifts that mean the railways arguably can't invest. Now, R.J. Irving, who wrote the economic history of the Northeastern Railway, but he also wrote a paper on investment, said that, capital's a problem, but also organisational conservatism. And I think you see, so a good example, and I keep coming back to the Southwestern because I know the company and I did my PhD on.
Presumably similar things were happening across the country, right? So
in some ways, but I think the Southwestern is a good example of the small c conservatism which the industry. So what's the big problem for the railways and the domestic suburban railways? Well, tram competition. Tram competition absolutely destroys a lot of the traffic for the London suburban railways, but also elsewhere around the country. Newcastle, for example, and these are municipally owned tramways. They are cleaner, they are quicker, they can drop you and pick you up wherever you want, and the profit extraction that you get from the railways is more dramatic than any competing railway line. I'm being I'm engaging in hyperbole there, but it's a significant amount of traffic extraction. Now I'm going to try and find a quote, because I think the London United Tramway, which is actually a private tramway, which is different from the majority, in southwest London. So you got Richmond and Kingston there, and I'm going to say that Richmond and Kingston is southwest London because, well, that's where I grew up. But the London South Western Railway in August 1908 says that they'd lost about £11,000 from tramway competition in the previous 6 months. In August 1908, there is the railways just don't compete. But the South Western has a plan come forward in 1901 or 2 by the chief engineer looking at electrification of all the suburban lines, what would eventually be electrified in like 1912. Now I got that completely wrong. Forgive me. 1913, I think. Doing this from memory. It's been a while since I wrote my thesis. But the point is, they don't go with that 1901 plan and see how they make it work. And there is a case to say that you get different systems. Of course, you need time to learn the technology. But instead of doing that, I mean, they support the metropolitan and districts electrification down to Kingston and Wimbledon. But instead of thinking, we need this massive plan, what they decide to do is spend money on buying the profitable Waterloo and City line.
Oh,
Yeah.
crikey.
And you have to ask, well, you are a major influence on that. You're a major shareholder. You're getting profits. Why do you need to buy this when you're being absolutely, your traffic is being cut into in such a dramatic way? But if you look at that from the viewpoint of this idea that it's a very traditional thinking, it's what we were talking about buying and leasing railways earlier. The London South Western was about the 1870s and 80s buying up small railways that it had agreements with. It's a very traditional mindset of territory acquisition. It's only when Herbert Walker comes in 1912 as the general manager that he goes to the board. Well, no, this doesn't really work.
So to kind of summarize this, you've got this intense pressure coming from these tramways. So to what extent were tramway? So in the US, there was a huge surge of interurbans, right? Of these tramways that actually were almost like competing with the equivalent of our sort of suburban lines. Whereas was that similar in the UK? Did we have those interurbans, or was it mostly just the urban tramways that were really doing a good number on?
There are a couple of in small interurban, the Burton and Ashby one, but generally we're talking about municipal tramways in cities. Yeah. I mean, if we think about it, London County Council tramways, which I've also written on, they developed this massive network. It's a huge network of tramways across London by buying up small, because the Tramways Act of the 1870s said that after 21 years of private operation, tramways could be bought up by local authorities.
Interesting. Okay, yeah.
But what makes it particularly appealing is that they could be bought up at asset price, not as their value as a going concern.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that made them very appealing to be just picked up by municipal authorities.
Yeah, well, I've got a statistic up here that between... So if we think about the line between Victoria and London Bridge, London Brighton South Coast, between 1903 and 1908, traffic on the 8.5-mile circuitous route between Victoria and London Bridge stations by Denmark Hill dropped from 8 million to 3 million journeys. So the London Brighton South Coast, who goes with an overhead electrification system, which is different from the London South Western, opened their first electric line on the 1st of December 1909, and passenger numbers soon rose to 10 million, so above their previous total.
Yeah.
So I think for me, what's really that's a lovely view, Gareth.
I know. I was going to say this is the. I'm just, for those who are watching in the feed, there's a few of you saying that you're struggling to concentrate on both the interesting things David is saying and the nonsense I'm doing on screen. That's fine. It's a YouTube format. You can just watch it later again. But this is Stratford. This is Stratford Approaches. It's a really nice station throat. What I've been doing there is I'd noticed I'd screwed up the signalling. So you can see I've got the probably better with this. You can see I've got I've segregated out the services. Again, two different railway companies running into this joint station, and trying to keep the services segregated so they're not bumping into each other. Anyway, sorry.
It's so the Southwestern goes for there. It's electrification. It's the largest electrification project, I think, in Britain up until this point. But it's really ambitious. I agree. Nice double slip. Love a good double slip. I think it's it's an ambitious project, and their figures do similar thing.
And it's interesting. So we can whiz down to Bradshaw. I've just ticked everything off and running again. There is a tram. Okay, the tram system in Bradshaw is a bit of chaos. It's pretty badly organised. But if we have a look at the lines here, if I have a look at the tram lines, okay, some of these aren't doing. Oh, let me just do this. Okay, some of them are not doing. They're actually not doing great in game. Interestingly enough, we're going to remodel these, and I think they'll run better. I'm going to Shildon and see the same thing. The ones in Shildon are doing a bit better. But at the moment, there's one metropolitan railway provider, and one suburban railway provider, really, because this one runs out into these northern areas. Bradshaw's really like formed of this sort of valley here, which has these larger towns, and then there's a more dense spread of towns sort of in the south of Bradshaw, and they're kind of connected up. So you've got these lines out the spur, and then they're kind of coming into the middle, and then through. They're all right, I think, profitability wise, but they're not fast. They're quite slow, and I can see when we improve our trams. Certainly, when I think we're going to do some tram improvements within the next decade. Certainly, I think these will start being undermined by the usefulness of the tram, and so the fact that the tram is there on the road, being able to be it's not that slow. The lines are not hugely. They're not necessarily. The roads aren't that congested, so the trams run pretty well. I think this'll. I mean, these are doing even worse than the trams are. In fairness, I think we'll see. I think we'll see people moving away from the rail and onto the trams.
But I mean, this is a. I mean, it's an interesting thing about sort of ridership, and I think one of the problems with railway history. I think generally, not one of the problems, this is the wrong way to put it, but something we need to analyse more and look at more depth is the user perspective. So it's quite easy to say, why would somebody want to go on an electric train over a steam engine when they've been shown the electric tram? But why would they jump to an electric tram and then back to from a steam engine, then back to electric train when they came available? That's a real. I want to know more about why people might do that.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I mean, so these.
It's not like jumping to a car.
Yeah, you've still got. Yeah, there's not a tremendous alteration in utility there. It's not like you're getting. And the jump from tram back to train is interesting because is it road congestion? Is it that the trams are becoming less reliable because of increase in congestion? So the railway is seen as a segregated system to be more reliable, even if it requires a longer walk. I don't know. Is it that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I want to look into it more, but I don't know that I will, but I'd be interested to see research on this.
Yeah, definitely.
I think one of the other things that the tramways do, especially in London, this is a big thing. The London County Council tramways don't just think in terms of tramways. They are a whole social policy provider. So they link up new housing estate with the working people, and they link them up with trams, so that people can get to healthy outdoor living. So this is the period of the Garden City movement as well. This idea that living away from the industrial will improve people's lives, their moral character, etc. And the London County Council were also providing housing estates tram linked. So the first electrification. So the other thing to remember is that tramways before their own electrification were horse-drawn. So there's some very interesting work by ex of York, Barbara Schmuke, who worked on the idea that before electrification, trams were seen as actually quite a wealthy person's.
That's interesting. Okay, yeah.
Because they were high class, they were elite. Suddenly they're taken over by local authorities who electrified them, and they put on workmen's fares as well to encourage working people to use them. And suddenly that idea that they are a transport for the wealthy dissipates.
Yeah.
The other thing to mention there about this is the tramways fall into the inherent and integral problem, the fundamental problem of British transport. We tend to view the railways as this sort of, and my colleague Kevin Tennant will talk a bit more at length about this, but I think he's right. He's one who articulated it, but he talks a lot about the idea that we talk a lot about the railways were for profit, and the railways were for profit, and they needed to be profitable, and people produced them in such a way that and that's why we've got the inherently disordered system. You can say the same about tramways, but actually tramways before the electric ones.
Yeah.
The private operators. But actually, And also, this goes back to turnpikes. Turnpikes are roads operated for profit. Profit is a through line in British transport policy that does not, I think, exist in the same way elsewhere.
Interesting.
I have a feeling I've said this before at another place, but I'm getting a weird sense of actual deja vu, but never mind. But profit. But you look at the minute books of the London County Council when they are talking about the tramway system they're buying up, electrifying, and they use the words profit. They want to make profit to cross-subsidise other social services. They want to make profit because for them, a lot of the people involved are nonconformists in religion, and they want to. They very much don't see a problem with earning profit and having a morally sound, a morally good business.
Yeah.
So one of them's a baker who makes sure that all of his employees have full canteens, that they work, in nice conditions, and one of the councillors, sorry. So I think one of the problems we've got, or one of the issues in this country, is that transport is invariably framed on the terms of profit. You look at British Rail in 1948, it's said that it has to break even year on year. It doesn't define very well, if at all, what its purpose is.
Yeah.
In the social construct of
it's interesting because that's the problem we have now with the railways, is that there's constant talk about revenue and efficiency and all this, and very little about but what's the measure of their success? Is it that we're minimising the amount of money? Is it minimising their subsidy, or is it achieving a certain, for example, modal shift back away from road again? What are the metrics here for success? And that's a question the current railways have completely failed to answer.
Ideas about transport coordination. So there's a chap called Eric Geddes, and Eric Geddes is I think my colleague and friend Chris Phillips will tell that he did his thesis on transport logistics in World War One. Geddes is employed by the Northeastern Railway before the First World War. He's one of Lloyd George's men of push and go after the shells crisis. So there was a shells crisis that the front wasn't being delivered with enough shells. So Lloyd George goes to industry to get these people. Eric Geddes is one of them. At the end of the war, he doesn't really want to go back to the railways, but what he's done, he's spent his wartime doing is making sure that the transport works and the logistics and loads of jobs like that. Lloyd George, at the end of the war, turns to him and goes, well, we want, he gets an MP's position, and so what we want is a system. I'm rushing over a lot here, but what we want is we want to reorganize transport and whatever. So Geddes comes up with this plan to the Ministry for Ministry for Works and Information. I haven't got that right, but what it would do is cover everything. It would cover everything, transport, but also communication, ways and communications. That was it.
Okay, yeah.
Cover all transport policy. Geddes is not a politician, so in his mind, as a sort of very rational person, he sees this as the perfect solution to Britain's communications transport problems. But what happens is that in the bills process, bits get stripped off. So different interests come in to strip off things at different points. So you end up with essentially being the Minister for Railways and other bits of transport and stuff like that. So it's not the fulsome. All that information, all that sort of communication stuff has been stripped off. Shipping, I think it's shipping, but it's not. It's a much diminished, and that ministry is the Ministry of Transport. So
I see. Okay, yeah.
Directly after World War One, there is this idea of rebuilding the nation. We've got the homes for heroes and all that. There's this idea to have a ministry that would coordinate the transport and communication of the nation, but it's by political constraint and by political machinations and vested interests. And it's really, really interesting that you get these points in the 1840s, in 1919, in 1948, and arguably in 2000 with John Prescott's Transport 2000, that you, although I know less, I will say I know less about that one, but you get these moments where there's these opportunities for a bit of transport policy that really, will define these things better. And I think that I don't like calling them lost opportunities, because that's quite ahistoric. That's kind of, they are what happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of other pressure. There's the pressures of reality, but there's certainly from. Okay, I can say it because I'm not a historian, and I'm just looking at some of the things that could have happened in terms of what the current problems are and how those analogized back through history, and I can say there are lost opportunities.
It strikes me you get these moments and where there's these opportunities, but to define better what transport is for. I think that we need to think about this more. Do we need to start thinking in terms of a national transport service? That transport doesn't exist as a technological object, which unfortunately I think a lot of perspectives on transport. It's not to say it's wrong, but it should make up one part of a broader conversation about transport not being something. We have TfL. It's supposed to be an integrated transport. It's not an integrated transport provider, because if it was a truly integrated transport provider, the fares on the buses and trains would be the same.
Would be the same, yeah. People would be basically mode agnostic. Yeah.
Yeah, like in Toronto. In the I don't know what it's like in Toronto now, but yeah, it was a system where you get the bus and it would go into the ticket zone of the stations. I think this is in the 80s and 90s, already up to date. But you get a through ticket, and I think if you start thinking about transport being a right and something that you should be able to take, I'm spitballing here, so don't.
No, that's fine. I'm merely enhancing some service provision. So
you're good. If we start thinking about, well, is it? There's surprise. I'll give you a good example. There is surprisingly little research on the relationship between social deprivation and transport inequalities, and how these things are critical for people to get into jobs. They're critical for people to live their lives and do things. And having transport poverty can constrain people.
Absolutely.
Even if you think about it, even in the 19th century, they were thinking about these things, about the demolition statements that I was talking about the idea that you put on special trains at reduced rate fares to accommodate people who've been dispossessed. And it's hard to see sometimes where that sort of thing might emerge. Now, I don't know as much about transport policy today as I do as in the past, to be frank, but I do see this need to start thinking about where people are going, what rights they have to be able to access jobs or job interviews, or on public transport if they need to. And of course, so I think we've never taken it from the other side. We've always thought about profit. We need to start taking it from the other side. About what about journeys? What about travel?
And I think, and bringing it back to kind of what we're seeing on screen, it's going to manifest itself on the island, because decisions are going to be made for there are going to be radical decisions being made, I think, for various reasons in the next sort of I don't know, 20 years that are going to change things quite dramatically. We've got a stuck train.
Are we talking about motor vehicles here, sir?
Yeah, motor vehicles are going to start appearing, and it's going to start meaning that change is going to happen.
But you play City Skylines, don't you? Well, you have.
I do.
And what annoys me about that game is that you start in a castle. You can't just say no.
Yeah. That is annoying. It's one of those things where there's an opportunity for them to have done something much more interesting if they'd not started it with. With cars and started it with just horse. Yeah. Chronology is something that City Skylines would benefit greatly from, rather than starting in the year 2000 with a highway junction into a plot of neatly flattened land. it does result in not particularly realistic looking railways. Cities.
One thing I did notice though on this was I did see one car.
Oh yeah, it's happening. Okay, it's a little bit anachronistic because some of the cars around. Let's go. Haverhill's quite well served, so I don't think there are that many cars around. I will find some cars. Wait a minute, let's find some cars.
So
actually, I can click on this button here, which looks at private transport.
The Edwardian period is the period where motor vehicles start emerging, as you say. One of the things that I've done some research on. Oh, there we go. One of the things I've done some research. It was quite a smart car, a bit early for design.
Bit early for that. That's more like it though.
Yeah. One of the things I will say is that we tend to think that the motor vehicle revolution is a sort of interwar emergence, and then it really comes to fruition in a post-World War II world. Motor transport is clearly on the. People are thinking about this future before the First World War. I'm no doubt. Some people at the time probably were not, but I looked at brewing, and I looked at the use of motor vehicles, and it's quite clear that in the brewing industry before the First World War, they're using motor lorries increasingly, progressively. And the reason they're doing that is, well, motor vehicles are quite unreliable. Not unreliable. Well, they are, but the World War I advances the technology a lot. But they're not so unreliable that they can't be of utility. And one of the advantages of a motor vehicle is you get return loads for the brewing industry. Sorry, one of the advantages of brewing. So where your outward, if you're a manufacturer of product A, and you take it to your distributor, you need a return load to make that journey profitable, or worthwhile.
Yeah, because otherwise you've got a whole half a journey of empty vehicle and no benefit.
So brewers need to take out beer-laden barrels, but also bring back empties. So there's no dead load on those journeys. So I think, you get these questions that come up, and it's not a matter of if. They say it's not a matter of if lorries take over, it's when.
Yep.
A lot of people. Motor vehicles are on the cards before the First World War. World War I accelerates that process, and by 1930s, about a third of all freight ton mile. It's been estimated. Peter Scott, academic, did some research on this. He estimated about a third of all goods are going by road in 1939.
Really? So that is a change that's going to happen on this island soon, because I think in not many years at all, the motor truck is going to make an appearance. At the moment, lots of freight is hauled by horse. It's still horse hauled. So, yeah, here we are.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing. There are more horses in London in 1914 than there are at the start of the railway's emergence. Horses still are absolutely massive part of the economy. So you might even, I have no statistics, but you might even speculate the ton mileage horses are carrying in 1914 is much greater than the railways. Or even just the road mileage they're travelling,
Yeah.
I think I'm very taken at the moment with David Edgerton's argument. He's a historian of technology, and he's talking about it's surprising how we focus on the technologies when they're created or their emergence, like the Big Bang of the railways or electric cars or Hyperloop. But actually, what's more important is to look at railways, technology in use. So there's hundreds of examples of this, but think about all the wonderful technology you use, and you still use a toothbrush.
Yeah.
The design of a toothbrush has not changed. Your bin is essentially the same. We use technologies day after day that are are less. They haven't advanced very much. The desk or I've got a standing desk, but
the mug.
People going back to books after the e-reader. I mean, I worked in public libraries. I went through e-reader madness, but people at the end of the day are still going back to books.
Yeah.
So I think it's all very well to look at these big bang moments, but I think there are some I imagine, but fundamentally, if we're looking at technology, we should look at its utility and its in use, how we actually use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that for me is a really compelling argument. So
it's oh man, yeah. So a load of things all pile up in the net are going to all pile up. So at the moment, even if you did get motor trucks, roads are generally pretty poor quality. So you've got these are cobbled roads that are kind of in kind of urbanizing areas, but by and large, the interconnections between towns are kind of dirt roads. They're rubbish. So you don't get good speeds. It's not comfortable. Goods get trashed. The trouble is, I think in the interbellum, so the First World War is going to happen, folks. No one here on this happy island knows it yet, but it's going to happen. And after the First World War, you'll have the motor trucks will have appeared. They'll have been pressed into use to accelerate logistics. And then by the 1920s on this island, and because that's what the game says, I think it's in 1925 that you get new tarmac roads. So all of a sudden that'll mean that the speeds between towns will increase rapidly, the comfort for passengers, and also the how well goods are looked after will improve. So it's not one thing, it's lots of things all combining, which is going to mean that our railways are going to find themselves on the back foot, particularly when it comes to freight, which is where a lot of the income comes from, and then even with passengers, with buses appearing. So that's all going to play out on this in its own way in this island, and also make the game increasingly complicated for me to keep on top of, because all of a sudden I'll have all the road things to do as well. But that's fine.
I mean, well, something interesting to point out is in 1919, the Lancashire and Yorkshire and London North Western Railways applied for road powers. So what that would mean is that they could do more than just the sort of railhead haulage. They could actually start running. And the railways were experimented with motor vehicles before the First World War. We went to North Cornwall and you got off on a Great Western Railway. There were places where the Great Western Railway served, but you could get a bus to extend your journey, a motor bus.
Yeah.
Same with the London North Western Railway in North Wales, and I'm sure there were other services around. But they applied for road powers in 1919, and they're knocked down by the politicians. Now, Roy Edwards, he's at Southampton, he did a piece on this, and he looked at that, and he basically said, well, it's not the civil servants. The civil servants know the motor vehicle is coming along. It's the politicians. And I think there's more research to be done, but I keep saying there's more research to be done. Come on my course and do that research.
Yeah.
But there's more research to be done on the role of the road lobby early on, the role of pro-road forces in shaping transport policy between the wars. And there might be stuff done out there that I'm not aware of, but I think we need to look at that. But I've always wondered what might have happened if those powers had been granted. But fundamentally, I think if we're thinking in a logical world, what you might have done is said, well, no road haulage, but the railways, get the chance to integrate. But I think our problem is we see transport too much still in this country and that's actually what militates against conversations about coordination in the interwar years.
Interesting. Okay.
Forgive me, I don't know the author's name. That's going to bug me, but there is a very good paper out there on the Institute for Transport and their interwar year debates. And it says one of the things is the debates after that Geddes moment where you get that Ministry of Ways and Communications come to the fore. That Geddes moment, people still think about integrated and coordinated transport, but one of the problems is it's usually the railways, it's usually modal specific.
Yeah.
Motor hauliers don't have that view, and Yeah. So, you know, because if you're like Roundtrees and you buy your own motor fleet,
yeah,
they can serve your needs in a way that the railways struggle to.
And you're getting rid of that interface. And this is going to play out in the next few episodes of the series. You lose that interface that of dealing with the railways that were. We've talked about this before. The railways were quite belligerent in the way that they dealt with people who are going to try and move their freight by rail. You know, it's wasn't always it was occasionally a loveless relationship.
Well, I mean, you'd get situations where so you put your. This is something from very early railways. You put your goods on the railway system and you hoped it got to the end. Now, that's not to say they lost an awful lot, but there was always that degree of worry. And I think part of that stems from the fact that, you know, the railways were very transactional in their approach. There was a lot of pilfering. You know, Whitbread between the wars, the London brewer, stopped sending bottled beer by rail simply because so much of it was whipped. You know, it got. The best one I found was, so goods yards were open to people whipping the beer, whipping drink. I think this happened in South Wales, near the seaside, near the coast. But a barrel of beer went missing. The police and the railway officials didn't know where it went. So they went searching. They found this barrel of beer on the seashore. And they wondered, well, what's going on here? So they lie in wait until night. Up stroll some locals from the local military barracks. And then a fight ensues over this barrel of beer. But it's this thing about stuff going missing, and lots of stuff did go missing. And the railways, it was on you to prove as the trader that your stuff had gone missing. So it wasn't on there was, you had to make sure that people you could prove that it gone missing. And then there were claims, I think it's one of the chocolate manufacturers of York, and Thomas would be able to tell you, that had a special department for claims.
I can imagine it, yeah. But the scale of these operations is huge. I'm just noticing that we are one of our railways is there must be a traffic jam somewhere, because our railways are one of our lines is just losing money hand over fist with not a penny arriving. Is this because I bet there's a traffic jam? Well, they are moving. They just haven't got anyone anywhere yet.
You're right thinking that everything is red there.
Oh yeah, this game is not great at, when you've got realistic scales of like railway operation. You're not. This is not making a lot of cash. In fact, it's losing a lot of cash. Yeah. If I get rid of this bit and show you which were the lines. So the thing is, I do have a lot of lines that are doing quite well. So as an overall island, that's not too bad. But there are some lines that are losing a lot of money here. And actually a lot of them are these southern lines, which makes me think there must be a traffic jam somewhere. If I go over here, is there a colossal traffic jam? Actually, it's probably not a bad idea. Oh, I've missed... Oh, it's fine. We're in 1910. We're in the 1910s, everyone. Hooray! 1910. Wait, when does Eddie snuff it? Is it May 1910 and then it becomes George again? Is that right?
Oh, you mean Kings?
Yeah, Kings-wise, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's 1910.
Yes, I think it's May. I think it's May 1910. Segregate the Southern from the GNR at this place, for the love of God.
6th of May 1910.
6th of May 1910, there we are. It's March 1910 at the moment. And there is an almighty traffic jam. I'm going to put off a load of stuff so we can see what's going on. Town, railway, let's have a look. Where's my traffic jam? There's a fairly sizable traffic jam down here. Oh yeah. I hope that's not because things have locked each other out. That's stuck. Oh, I hate it when this happens. Why has that got stuck when it can go out?
When I was playing it, you used to have to build a depot, send it into the depot.
Oh, and send it back out again to get it.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's not because it doesn't appear to be a full horrendous jam. I think these are waiting for the yeah. Oh man, yeah, that's waiting there for stuff to go through. The trouble we've got is that a load of new trains, like a large number of new trains, have just spilled out onto the Southern's railway network, along this brand new, very fast line, and I think that's now taking. As a result of that, I think we've got this surge of traffic that's working its way through, and it's having ripple effects by the look of it along the whole network.
Yeah, I mean, Gareth, this is less problematic than my computer game. So.
Oh really? Yeah.
My dinosaurs one.
Your dinosaurs one.
I play Jurassic World Evolution, and you can basically get your guests eaten by a T-Rex. Maybe, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, you can genetically engineer the different dinosaurs to have different attributes.
Oh, nice. And they have different, presumably different rates of tourist consumption as well.
Yeah, you can up the rating, but it lowers the viability of the actual dinosaur. But then you can, it's complex. It's just like I'm learning so much about dinosaurs.
So this is Ely down here, not the Ely that you know, but this is quite a nice little seaside resort. And so the Metropolitan Railway, this used to be their terminus, and actually now they pushed through an extra pair of tracks, which is quite nice, into down the coast here to the pier, which is quite nice, I think.
Oh, very lovely.
It's quite nice. There's a little boat on its way off there. Where's that off to? It's the MV Droitwich. It's got 3 people on it, and it's off to Droitwich Pier. There we are. Very nice. Yeah, everything seems to be moving. I often do this view just to see that there is a general bustle of all these little train icons to make sure they are actually moving. And they do look to be actually moving, which is a good sign. Even through here, which is where this traffic jam is. I think the traffic jam through Gainsborough has now dissipated. Yeah, this needs to be remodeled actually, because it's a bit of a mess. Yeah, it's a bit of a pinch point. In fact, maybe I'll do that now. Let me have a think. Yeah, what I'm going to do is... what am I going to do? Does anything use that? Oh god, they do. What on earth is using that single thing there? Okay, right, I'm going to remodel this now. Yes, things are upset. That's fine. Let's do that, and also that. I'm now going to just do... Oh, we've moved it to 1910, which means that, interestingly, there is now the ability, I'm not going to use it yet, but there is the ability to electrify. That's interesting. I wonder when that's going to happen. 30. Let's do 30 there, and then I'm going to do the same here, and then just bring this in as a double track to make that work a lot better. Let's signalify that as well. There we go. Now, did I just draw a signal down here? I think I did, didn't I? There we go. That. If I now press this button here, that'll let me see where my signals are. Yeah, that's probably enough for a signal block, is it? Yeah, it is. Good. Anyway, right, sorry, that was me keeping on top. Oh, why have I not got a... Should be one there. Has that screwed up things? Let me have a look. That's confused because it's on the wrong track. That'll be why. It's got seven people on it. It's no longer confused. Good. This line, however, is confused. Why is this line confused? Ely to Gisborough could not reach all stations. That's because it terminates here and it has no way of moving onto the right track. Yeah, okay, I can fix that. It's very... Yeah, there we are. This you're experiencing me having to like talk through what's going on screen. It's not very exciting. If I do that,
it's wild, Gareth. It's just
people love it people enjoy it for watching me do railway alignments. There was a particularly good one last time actually, which was basically felt very much like me doing my day job on camera. It was great. Levels look a bit off at this new junction. Oh really? This one here. Oh god, yeah, Jesus, what's going on there? Fair point. That's a very fair point. That looks horrifying. I don't know what's going on there. Bit strange.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. It is a shambles. What a shambles.
Ah, the floating train syndrome.
Oh god, that's now gone here, and I don't know why it's gone there. It's now going to be just disaster lost. I just think I need to just flip that around and hope that I've caused many problems there. I'm not going to do this like this. That should now be at the right level. There. And there. That should now be at the right level. Now let me check. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm no longer going to be doing the Big Dipper. There and to there. What was that? 50, 41. Okay, cool, whatever. I think that's right. And then the same there. Happy days. That's a bit better looking. Good. Thanks for spotting that. Thanks, Martin, for spot. Oh, it's still a bit weird. It's still doing slightly weird things. Oh, I know what that is. It's because it's the vertical curve there.
Phantom smoke as well.
Say again.
The phantom smoke here.
Oh yeah, phantom smoke is also quite fun. Yeah, there we are. That's that fixed. I'm happier now. I just need to do this here, and then now I need to put. So there is a terminating service that comes into Gisborough and then whizzes off and goes back in the other direction. I need to. I think if I make that not a one-way signal, and then if I put in a crossover here. Actually, can I put a crossover here? Is it too short?
Ooh,
it's too short.
Electrification. You already got colour light signals in this?
Not yet, no. Not yet. So I'm going to put that there. That's the crossover that allows that to work. Except that
so,
it doesn't.
Gareth, I'm going to have to shoot him.
Oh, that's okay. It's been a pleasure. I didn't do much of a good tour to show you around.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was nice to chat. It was nice to chat about the various pressures and things and complicated happenings.
Yes.
In the island.
If anybody, I'll do a slight promo if anybody wants to do an MA in railway studies. We're still recruiting.
Oh, absolutely. You know, people were mentioning it in the chat. Someone was saying who's going to join the MA in railway studies in the chat. So it is known.
Well, just drop me an email. There's a if you type it into Google, it should be fine. But we've still got spaces on the program. So for next year, starts in September. Very, I like it. So I teach it.
It's very popular. Yeah, it's a very popular program. I'd recommend it.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice one. Ella's tempted to do the MA after doing her current undergrad. Right. Anyway, everyone, say goodbye to Dr. David Turner. David, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been fun.
No worries, and maybe I'll see you again soon.
Yeah, we'll catch up. We'll catch up soon. You can just hang up on the Skype. It'll make the sad Skype noise, but yeah, in terms of tech side. Bye, David. I'm waving. Hopefully, you can see me waving.
Yes.
Bye, David.
Bye.
Bye. There, and that's it. Dr. DT departs. Everyone. Right. So yeah, I hope that was alright. I just wanted to get David on to have a chat about what was the sorts of things that have been going on. And meanwhile, I've been screwing up railways. That's too short there, so that's no good. Which means maybe I can put this crossover sort of on the straight bit here. Maybe I can do something like this. How's that? Is that any good? That's not really, is it? What am I doing? I've got myself very confused, I have to say. What was happening here? Has that fixed it? Why is that not fixed? Oh, I need to change the platform, don't I? If I do this, platform 5, which now means that this is going to do... this is going to do this. Hello to everyone in the chat. You can all focus on me. You can focus on what's happening. We've got half hour left to do bits and pieces. Well, actually, while I'm here, I'm just going to bring up my ideas spreadsheet again, just so I remember what's going on. I think there are some things I need to do over in... Yeah, there are a couple of things I need to do, yeah. Yes. Okay, yeah, good. So that comes in here. This runs double in there, so I really need to... That does need to be further up, because otherwise it's a bit of a mare. So if I do that there, that then runs in, runs out. Yeah, that's okay. Is that working? I'm well. I'm well. Double slip. I don't need one, actually, I don't think. Oh. No, because it's a bit far, isn't it? I kind of want to use that signal block as a bit of extra space, I think. What coffee do I drink? What's my preferred brand roast? Oh. At home, I'll just have any old dumping decaf instant, to be honest. I drink so much coffee at the moment at home that I have just drink decaf at home as a default. I do have a Lavazza. Dina has a Lavazza sort of thing that we do in a mocha, you know, the one on the hob. But the best coffee in York is Spring Espresso, and I'll have a flat white at Spring Espresso, which is tremendous. I'm not too fussed. I drink so much of the stuff. I'm not so fussed about it being or not being instant. There we go. It's May 19th. Oh, the king is dead. Long live the king. The new king has arrived. That happened on the 6th of May. I didn't even notice. There we are. Anyway. Right, that's all chuffing along. Hopefully these are all going to normalise out a bit now. There's not much happening during this period. So where are we? Is the world going to hate me if I say I'm a Costa person? It's interesting. Costa hits a certain spot for me. I always go for a medium OPS latte, so that's their special blend. And let's face it, it's basically just milk, but it's quite nice. I don't know. I have a soft spot for Costa coffee. I don't know why. Where are we? Let's go. Instant is evil. I don't know. I tan through a lot of this stuff. If you it hits a certain spot. What can I say? That was well, I'm going to go to lower stuff because Stratford. We have challenges in Stratford. Those challenges being the need to make this a 4-track railway all the way through to the sawmill. So this is, and it's going to happen now. I'm going to do it right now. So the reason I'm doing this is because I knew it. There's it's basically there's a dump ton of traffic and let me do this then. There's a dump ton of traffic and we need to deal with it. Yeah. A dump ton of traffic and we need to segregate the slower stuff from the faster stuff. So best way to do that is with a 4-track railway, and it's gonna mean bulldozing through these bridges, isn't it? Yeah, but that's fine. So we can just do this work, and likewise on this side as well. There we are. We also need to check the land speeds through here because it is slowing. It's not the fastest, is it? Anyway, this bridge, yeah, it's gone. It's going to get demolished and then widened. Yeah, let's just do that now. So in fact, let's put our railway through first before I forget. There we are. Put that through here. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And I need to kind of work out what's going on by that point. So let's do that. Let's also demolish this and put the other track in here. Cracking stuff. Right, let's get the road bridge in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, how's that span looking? It's looking ridiculous. Oh wait, look at this. Oh, that also looks ridiculous. But hopefully it looks ridiculous in a way that I can now salvage. Why? There we go. I just need 2 piers. Is it that hard to ask for? Yes, it is, apparently. There we are. Let's now do that. Yeah, new structures, which obviously we're going to have to now go around and replace some of these crazy... Where are we? Is the coffee chat getting deep? Is that what's happening? it does happen, you know. Oh, what's going on here? Why is it? Has it been weird? Yeah. What's got confused now? Oh, all of these. Why have they all got confused? Is it because I got rid of signals? Oh yeah, that's because I've got rid of the chance for them to merge back in. That's going in there, that's going in there. Yeah, okay, so that's why. Fair enough. I'm going to put in a... There we go, that'll do. That's coming in like that, so... Let's put a signal in there, yeah. And that is coming in, that's traffic coming in there, that's coming in there. I do want some of this stuff to go on the... Maybe I do want some things to go on the slows, actually. Yeah. Come back to that. Right, so that's travelling on there, that's travelling on there. Now, what about here? Because I kind of need to basically just... So this is currently 2 for freight, 2 for passenger. Do I actually then just want to extend this out? So everything is coming... This is doubling at this point. Yeah, so I do need to add an extra... Let's say... Or do I just want to keep that and then split it out afterwards? No, I'm going to put them in, it's fine. Even if I don't end up using them, I'm going to put 4 in, actually. Just in case. Just in case I need them. Then that is going to... So that's going to mean... Yeah, so that freight is going to need to do this. Or maybe it's better if I... Yeah, and then maybe it's better if I just leave it as 4-track there and then have it as 2-track here, which admittedly would be a big old bottleneck. Yeah, I know. At the moment, the challenge is that it's not such a capacity problem that I don't need. I can kind of have trains crossing over each other so long as they've got space to clog up. I think I might leave it there actually for now, which actually means I could. Yeah, that's fine because that is what I want to do. I'm gonna demolish those tracks that I just built. I don't need them. Maybe I'll come back to them in the future. I think that's fine as long as I signal it up. I think that's going to give us a bit of extra. But also probably worth me putting in some extra signal blocks actually, like this. Yeah, there we are. And ditto up here. Yep. Yeah, so if I do that sort of thing, that should help. And another one here-ish. Yeah. I think that this whole area just needs, like, it needed a lot of work. It's getting really busy and not a lot of stuff is actually moving through. That's it, that's fine. And then another one here, like this. What else is going on? What other suggestions have people got? How are you all doing? What's happening? Let's see. Put that in there. I think that now is going to be, if I put that, what's that, it's going to be to there. There we are. Get rid of those old signals and then put these new ones here. There we are. And the next thing we're going to do is go around replacing bridges that look ridiculous with their current arch bridges and start replacing them with metal ones. Oh, why is that doing that? Why is it saying construction not possible? Is it because it's too short? It is because it's too short, isn't it? It's a bit weird. If I'd made that big, it would have allowed me to do it. Yeah, oh well. Marvellous. Signals, the next lot is going to be probably halfway between these two. So if I pop another one there, then one there, then another one here, and then another one here. That's the inside of the curve. Then I just need to check whether this makes any sense. Another one there. I think that's us now. I think we're there. Let's have a look at what that means traffic-wise. We've got freight going along there. We've got freight going along there. Yeah, it's all sort of doing what it needs to. So long as there's a bit, basically, so long as I've got extra parking spaces for trains, the congestion shouldn't be too bad. It's kind of tight through here onto the approaches, but I'm all right with that actually. Blobby tables, you're all right. It's a useful thing. I need to put it in the description. As long as it gets updated reasonably frequently, it'd be good to put it in the description for everyone to drop in and watch and enjoy while the stream's on, so they know where we're at. The first place that needs to have its bridge spans renewed is over here, actually. Where is it? Where am I? It's here, everyone. This is getting its spans renewed. Where are we? Demolish you and you. And you. Oh, it's very. This is slowing it right down. Now, I just need to. Yeah, good. Yeah, that's the stuff. That's what I wanted. Now, come on. There we go. So I want arch up to here. And then I also want arch up to here. There. Do you follow what I'm doing? As long as PDF pages don't change, it's very easy to update. Ah, good to know, actually. I'll do that. Yeah, this bridge is a big bridge, which I think is why it's lagging out so much when I demolish bits of it. It's a bit strange, isn't it? But we're there. I think now that should be straight as a die. Good. Now, I just want to build this up to here. And then likewise over here. And then, if I do this, it's still spreading the spans out in a completely logical way. But at least now it looks like a bit more of a thing. So we've replaced we've got a nice arch viaduct approaches, and then we've got this new spans in the middle, which sadly that looks like it's concrete, which is not quite as nice as if they'd kept the stone underneath. It'd be kind of nicer, but never mind. But it's okay. It's okay. I think. Any other spans that we need to go and replace? There was one up. So right, everyone on the game now. Our mission between now and in the next 13 minutes is to think of all the spans that need replacing. In places that should be. See, I think that could be one. What do you think? If I blitz this, I bet it's now not going to let me do anything. I should have predicted that would happen. Really should have predicted that would happen. Of course, now it's not happy and it does not want me to do anything at all. Doesn't want this. Doesn't want this. Thinks I've broken everything. Sigh. That was I regret doing what I just did, because now I'm gonna have to rebuild all of this. This game sometimes. I knew as soon as I did that, I knew that it would be a mistake. No. The issue is that this is now probably too low, and it doesn't want me to. There we are. So if I do. Can this work? Done that. Oh, jeez, I don't want to do that, though. Oh, man, why did I demolish that bridge, everyone? Why did I demolish that bridge? Blobby tables, no, because I don't want to do that, because I like the aesthetic of a lot of the arch bridges. They're fine, they're going to stay. It's just a few of the, it's just on a few of the, I just want to swap out spans that look ridiculous, and in doing so, I've screwed myself over demolishing a bridge that I never should have. I knew I should have saved before I did this, and then I could have reloaded it. It was a big bloody mistake, that was. Rage and anger. Because this game is dumb when it comes to structures. Yes, it is. That's gonna have to do. That's gonna be the recovery. We've recovered with a new bridge. There we go. Okay. Right, okay. So, what other structures are knackered and need to be changed over? Probably these two, but the thing is, these... I'm gonna leave that for now. The road bridge definitely needs swapping out for a... yeah. Let's do that. New road bridgey bits. What else? Right, where do people remember there being big spans that need replacing? Oh, I know where. What's that? Michael Seed. Do you know where I... Shanklin Great Western. Which bridge is Shanklin Great Western? Which one? There's Southport. There is Shanklin. Which bridge? Oh, you mean this one? Oh, yes. The trouble is, though, this is definitely going to rage. If I swap this out and demolish it, it's definitely going to rage at me, and part of me thinks, oh, but it is bad. Right, I'm going to save it. What is this? July 1910. 1910. July. What have we been doing? What did we just do? We, new bridges. That'll do. Yes. Do not touch. Yeah. yeah. Just don't 100% bad. Just don't touch it at all. Just leave it. Yeah, alright, maybe I will. There is one that I am going to touch, which is over here. How does Droitwich cope with that new station, by the way? Is it functioning? I don't finish saving yet, so we'll never know. I'm going to go over here because there was a bridge that's always annoyed me, and I'm getting rid of it. There, that's just getting outright replaced. There, long overdue, now fixed. Right, so Droitwich Spa, how's it looking? I think it's looking alright. Droitwich Spa, it's got its big new station. So it's busy, you know, passengers are using it. Are passengers going from here to... Is there actually a Droitwich to... There isn't actually a Droitwich to Bradshaw, is there? Well, that probably needs fixing. Let's set up a new line. It's going to go from... It's going to be Droitwich to Bradshaw. Where are we? Let's go down here. Yep. Droitwich, Gisborough, Dawlish Junction, and through to Dawlish Victoria. There we are. And it is the S.R. Bradshaw to Droitwich Spa. Yeah, let's leave it that colour because I need to go and see what it's doing over. Let's see what it's doing over in Gisborough for starters. It's doing the right thing. Excellent. Hooray. And it is pulling into a vaguely sensible platform in Bradshaw Great Northern as well. Bradshaw to Froome Stopper. No, let's... no, let's stick the Bradshaw to Droitwich Spa into platform 1. I think that's... Maybe I should pop these expresses and stoppers into the same one. So if I put 4 into 5, and if I put this into 4, and this also into 4, because they're doing kind of the same thing, those ones, aren't they? And then maybe I can go, so that'll be 2, let's put that in 3, and then this one will go into 2, and then that's into 1. Okay. Here we are. Yep, fine with that. Thoughts? Big boy station. Yeah, this station is big. Make sure it's going out the southern flaps of Bradshaw have done. Remember the return stops. Oh, I keep stacking that, don't I? So that got to, where did it get to? So Bradshaw, Droitwich, Victoria, and then I need to go back through Dawlish, and then Gisborough, and then that's that. Okay. Yeah, there we are. Okay, so I just need to buy some trains now. Let's do that. But I'm gonna, you know what? Wait. Yeah, let's just get 2 of them for now. This is gonna be S.R. What is it? Regional passenger. Yeah. This one as well. And then both these can sign them on, put them onto the Bradshaw Droitwich Spa. Then I can make that yellow because it's now yellow, so I can remember that it's set up right. Happy days. There we go. Nice. New services. Anyway, that seems to be working. This, I know people are angry about the fact this doesn't run through entirely segregated, but sucks to be you. They've just, you know, there's too much physical work for them to do. They've not wanted to do that yet. They've kind of tried to do the easy thing, which is just expand the station through it for now. You know, Bradshaw to Droitwich Ferry, it doesn't exist now. What? Bradshaw to Droitwich Ferry. Droitwich Ferry? What do you mean Droitwich Ferry? There is no Droitwich Ferry. Are you getting confused, Michael C? This, you mean this station? This is just the old Droitwich Spa, and then this is Droitwich Victoria. Yeah. Let's get things moving, shall we? Keep your eyes keep your eyes peeled for bridges that I need to renew. Oh, were there any on the new line that we just built that need to be fixed up? I don't think there are, actually, to be fair. Maybe. Nah, but even that's sort of fine, isn't it? Or do I want to replace? Do I want to replace that entirely with new viaduct? Maybe. I don't know if I do. It's still of its time. I'm at peace with it. Oh man, a new ferry line. Ah, okay. Well, there's not really demand for it. Oh, also, it'd be a really long route. It would take ages. This, how busy is this? Is it getting used? I mean, it's got some people using it. This is not a busy railway though. Unlike, yeah, this I feel like could be a this could be a new type of bridge. Let's also, I just screwed up a signal, so let's put that back in. There we are. Keep an eye on the time. I don't want this to go past into 1911 yet. I need to save it at a particular time. There we are. That is a train going hell for leather. Fair play. Nice. Not hanging around. Is it going to slow down going up this hill? It is not. It's just doing it. It's absolutely hammering. Oh, what did we do at the start? Did we just extract the first Bradshaw? Yeah, we did. 1911 was 19 minutes ago. Oh, thanks, Jen, on the move. Very good. I need to ballast up this line, don't I? That's actually an important thing I need to do. Do I have anything else on my list of bits and pieces? Not really, actually. Yeah. Seems to be, you know. How many people are using this station? No, I mean some are using it. Again, does this actually does interchange with Great Wall? Ah, I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep running time for starters. We're gonna look along what freight is there that let's put everything back on again, because I don't think anything is too snarled up. Whoa. So, oh, there's stone and steel. I'm trying to work out if there's any freight we can actually take down this new line that might actually serve some of the areas that would benefit from freight expansion, you know. So we've got steel-ish, stone, fuel. That's about it, really, isn't it? Not that great. And then we're into Harrogate. How much is this station getting used? Oh, it's getting used a bit more now. Good. Anything anyone wants to go and have a look at while we're here? Jen on the move, you're forgiven. It's okay. There are Nottingley Station is got to be pretty busy. Yeah, it's hugely busy, but they could expand it one more platform in that direction. In fact, maybe that's exactly what I need to do. Yeah, I'm going to do that now. Because reasons. Let's shove in. Yeah, so we need 2 tracks here. 1, 2. Just to make it the right length. There we go. And just because it'll help for throughput if the trains are actually emptying at a decent rate. Plus, need to build a new. Definitely need to build a new entrance on this side as well. There's not the room for it on there, but we can build the proper works on here. So let's. Here we go. Oh, actually, Misk. Shove these two in here. So, what was the... Now, again, I'm going to ask, what is the building style that we use on our stations on the southern? I can't remember. No, well, that's not somewhere to check. We just did one here. It was big, middle, and little, wasn't it? Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah. Passenger building, so it's like one of these. Then combined with 2 little ones like this. Yeah, that's right. Nice. I like that. There we go. Pop a little straight in there. Oh, not quite. There. Grand. Oh yeah, no problem, Jermaine. See you later on. Right, yeah, do that, and then the huge. Now, if I do that, is that going to actually? Oh God, no! Jeez. No, man. Maybe I just need to do. Maybe I just need to. Is that really what the situation is there, that it's causing me to do that much demolition? Okay. Maybe I need to get rid of that. Oh, we've always had a challenge with this bridge, haven't we? Maybe now's the chance to fix this problem. Get rid of that, and that, and actually just fix this issue. First of all, let's fix our railway back up again. There we are, and then let's get the bridge over the top. Can I do it? Can I be even cleverer? Can I do this and then do this? The answer is no, I cannot. Okay. If I go like this, is that going to give me the space I need? Oh, I don't even need to be that. I can even be less tight if I can do... There's that, yeah, that, and then I can do curvy, yeah, curvy. Weirdly, like that less than it. I think it seemed to work with the straight. It seemed to actually. Oh no, it did not. That was a figment of my imagination. Now, if I come up like this. That's just not having any of it, is it? It definitely wants... Now, let me... If I maybe come in like this... You can possibly see where I'm going with this. Although the game can't, obviously. No, it doesn't like that at all. Right. Do an old style bridge here, maybe. Yeah. I'm going to make it go a bit further out. 2, 3, 4. Now, this surely... I mean, I've basically not moved it, have I? I just want it to go... There we go, and try... Is that ridiculous? No, it is a bit gross, isn't it? Oh. If I go from here, will that now let me do this? Yeah. Now will it let me then do this? Yeah, that's worked. Okay, so now trickier bit. This side, I just want to go like this. Yeah, and then from there, and then down to here. Oh, there we are. That's more like it. So that's kind of worked, I think. Yeah. And then also I need to then fix this one, don't I? Get this on. It's creating a horror. Oh Jesus! Why? Why is this game? This game sometimes. Oh my goodness. Let's just have a little junction like that, and also, oh, the massive hotel is about to get wiped out, but I can't help it. It's happening anyway. There we are, and you know the deal. Asphalt. That's not my fault. There we are. Bad jokes aside, that's that done. There's our square. Things will build up around that. That's a new access point. Not only Victoria, a bit expanded as well, which is nice. How's Bristol getting on? The GWR needs some love. You want to go and have a look at Bristol? Yeah, all right. Let's keep things. Oh, we do need a signal though. Let's put in a signal. I mean, there's a distinct lack of signals around here, aren't there? Could probably benefit from a bit of extra signal action. Like here and here, for example, as well. Smooth the terrain to the asphalt, look nice. I have smoothed the terrain. Yeah, it's all smooth. It's fine. This bridge with its horrible kink here is disgusting, isn't it? but you know what, it's fine. Let's get time moving again. There we are, that was all very nice. Very, very nice. Lovely. So what's that? The southern whizzing in. With some weird terrain stuff. We're not going to pay too much attention to that. Then we're into Harrogate Bay. It's Harrogate Bay Station. Which people are, I mean, it's serving, you know, it's serving an increasing number of these houses. It's commercial buildings. I think they still get served though. Cheerio, Jen, on the move. Bye. I'm sure you can catch up later, if indeed that's the sort of thing you want to do. Yeah, this bridge is looking quite nice now. I think November the 10th, 1910. Oof. There we are. There's the Great Central. What is this? This is an express. And it's not particularly fast express, is it? Has it got stuff queued up behind it? What's this behind? I don't know, again, not particularly. This is presumably hammering it along. Oh, this is neat. Oh, that's because it's got a load of these coaches, isn't it? It's got the... It'll accelerate quickly, though. Yeah, that's... Right. Now, there is an express that's going to be going faster. Okay. Harrogate Junction is still a thing. Yeah, here it is. It's still getting used. It's actually pretty well used, actually. See, it's got up to 200 people using it at any given moment. It's busy. It's busy. Actually, it's a good point. How common are those services up connecting it? It's doesn't seem like it's that common. Kind of in hindsight, should have built. I should just put a bay platform and had a shuttle running back and forth. Anyway. For the future. This is also built up massively. Harrogate's growing quite rapidly. Yeah, decent growth. I'm about to pay attention to the calendar, so if I'm going weird, it's because I'm looking at the calendar. We're going to go and have a look at Bristol, though. Southport and Bristol. Here's Bristol, little old Bristol. Not much going on in Bristol. It's just Bristol, innit? Little Bristol, little village Bristol. I mean, it's growing a little bit. You know, let's have a look at Orpington. How's Orpington doing? Not particularly right. December the 30th, December 31st, January 1st. Right, I want to save that. Save. 1911 01. Because that is data collection time. Oh, crikey, we're going on for 2 hours and 47 minutes. No, 2 hours and 11 minutes and 50 seconds. I think it's quite a high time I left you all in peace and quiet. Still space for a bay platform, maybe. Right, I'm tired and it's time to leave you all in peace and quiet. I don't know how much... We kind of got a few things done. But we started with some interesting history at the start. It was an excuse for me to just have a nice chat with Dr. DT. Stevenage. Crikey. Stevenage seems to be expanding a bit. Anyway. When was this built? It's newer. 1880. Tell me things. Let me know. Southport as well. Is Southport growing? It's growing a bit. It's got decent It's got pretty decent connections, you know. It's still got its original station. It's not grown up much since it was first built. It's a bit of a weird spot, but it is right in the centre of the city, so it's quite well connected. You know, the platform's going in all directions. Right, I will leave you all in peace and quiet. No, I'm gonna. I did consider enabling the other vehicles on this save actually for a while, but then I had a look through them and thought it's too much of a faff because there are lots of things the couplers don't match and all sorts of things that are just confusing. What I'm going to do is come back to say I've got all these different saves in different eras. I'm going to come back to one or two of them maybe, and then we'll have a look at what vehicle. I'll get a load of vehicles in, and I'll maybe get some assets in, and we'll improve some of the stations to make them look like what they actually look like. So we'll pick an era and we'll make it all look grand. Yeah. So stay tuned for that. But that's for the future. For now, I'm going to leave you all in peace and quiet and do other things. Little Brizzle, yeah, Memnonia, Little Brizzle, doing its thing. Some of my industrial infrastructure is in need of modernisation. Oh, is it? ENVR Nikki Kiji. Get onto the Discord server and let me know. pop in some suggestions. Go on. Best place to do it is go that, because I do miss a lot of the chat because there's so much of it now. So do go in and let me know where there are gaps that I've missed and things that are starting to fall apart. And, you know, that sort of thing. Oh, dear me, I just yawned down the stream. I think you can tell it's time that I went and did something else, like mid-stir fry. So I'm going to see you all later. We've just made Bradshaw Great Northern pretty massive. Is it still Bradshaw Great Northern? Is it going to become Bradshaw Joint Station? Who knows? In any case, I will... it is big, isn't it? It's pretty big. How many platforms? 13 platforms. It's quite a leap. I don't mind pronouncing complicated usernames. It's fine. Oh, I should have flattened this out, really, shouldn't I? Ballasted between it. I didn't do it anyway. There we are. And then I'll save it again. It's going to be the last thing I do on stream is this. You know what I'm like. There we are. That's nice. There we go. Right. Save that and then leave you in peace and quiet. Save. Thanks, folks. Yeah, it's a big old station. I will see you on. I'll see you for Railnatter on Wednesday, where we're going to do some of this, but in real life. Cheerio, cheerio. I'm gonna have to keep waving until I get OBS up. You know the drill. Cheerio.